Hi guys, welcome back to the desktop. It's Freddy here with this week's Retro RPG. And this week I would like to present this Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, A Grim World of Perilous Adventure. A role-playing game from 1986 by Games Workshop. Now, a bunch of people will criticize me. They will be asking me how dare I do Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, especially when a new edition only came out a couple of months ago. That's not retro, that's positively modern. Well, I consider this, the first edition, to be very, very different to the second, third, and now fourth editions. There was definitely discontinuity. While the first edition continued to be published by the original authors, the second, third, and fourth have all been different teams coming in decades later. Although they're set in the same world, they are very, very different games. Possibly better ones. But we'll come to that later. Let's have a look at the back of the book. Now, first of all, this text is hard to read, so I'll be stumbling over it. Yellow on the background doesn't make it easy to read at all. The Old World. On the surface, it is a vast and fertile place, filled with teeming cities, elf-haunted forests, and lofty crags, where dwarves battle with goblins and their kin. But a shadow hangs over the world, cast by the dark, corrupting hand of chaos. From the pirate-ridden coast of the south, Tilea, to the fortified villages of the barbaric east, a few heroes strive to hold back the endless tide of chaos spilling from the north. But chaos also gnaws from within, and his hidden servants work to bring the world to its knees before the dark gods. Warhammer is a sophisticated open-format game without conventional board or playing pieces. The actions and events take place in the imaginations of the players and games master. Players adopt the roles of valiant heroes in search of adventure, fighting marauding goblinoids and seeking to stem the insidious encroachments of chaos. The games master sets the scene for the players and directs the actions of the old world's colourful inhabitants. Yep, it's from the 1980s when role-playing games felt it necessary to explain on the back what a role-playing game is. Enter the realms of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, A Grim World of Perilous Adventure. It contains players and game master chapters, over 100 character careers, 130 skills, combat system, a guide to the old world, the Oldenhaler contract, a complete introductory scenario, 8 full-colour plates, evoking the full atmosphere of this land of adventure. So, this is softpack. It was actually 1988 this came out. I don't know whether there are any revisions between the hard and softpack. I very much doubt it. Now, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is a very British spin on Dungeons & Dragons. Games Workshop had brought out Dungeons & Dragons in the UK. They'd been publishing that and a bunch of other role-playing games written in America under the Games Workshop license for the UK and possibly European markets. But this, they built up Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and then they brought out the role-playing game based in the same world. Now, the Warhammer world is kind of weird in comparison, at least this version of it is. The gods had created various species on the old world, and then aliens arrived through wormholes at the North and South Poles. The descendants of those aliens are now one of the races on the Americas, because basically the Warhammer world is our world, just with different areas. The wormholes collapsed, and they have been letting chaos in, which is mutating. Chaos is basically radiation after a fashion. So you've got the mutant species of goblinoids and nasty things. You've got the higher races of humans, elves, dwarves, halflings, etc. all fighting to protect their world or their areas. What Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay does far better than Dungeons & Dragons is it introduces the character careers. So if we have a quick look in here and we come straight to the careers. Now, in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, you not only choose to have your character class, so warrior, ranger, rogue, or academic, but then you have your career within it. So, you know, you may be a warrior, but you're a bodyguard. And that gives you your advances that you can buy as you get experience. Skills. So as a starting character, you'll have those skills, you'll have those advances. But as you move on to new classes or careers, you get other bonuses, you get new skills. You have to have the trappings to join a new career. So, for example, if you want to be a coachman, you need a coach horn, you need a mail shirt, you need a hand weapon, and you need a blunderbuss. And there's career exits, so you can leave to go on to other classes. But yes, so you're not just a rogue, you're not a sneaky thief, you might be a sneaky thief beggar or an entertainer. You can be a dwarf engineer. You've got druids, excisemen, fishermen, footpads, grave robbers. As you can see, the world is showing itself to be a lot darker than a normal Dungeons & Dragons game. This is not high fantasy. There's not loads of magic around here. This is a world of creeping chaos, destroying the world, while a bunch of ordinary people, the party fishermen, and the minstrel bard, there you go, are fighting to stave off the destruction of society. Most of the things you fight won't actually be chaos monsters. They won't be goblins and orcs. They will be just ordinary people. But there'll be cultists who are selling their souls. So there's a bit of Cthulhu thrown in there as well. You've got the ancient gods, people sacrificing stuff and trying to bring down society. It's a very interesting setting. It's got some very interesting ideas in here. The rules themselves don't work great. If I run through the stats quickly here, if I can remember them, because it's been a few years since I've ran this game. We've got movement, we've got weapon skill, we've got ballistic skill, we've got strength, we've got toughness, we've got wounds, we've got intelligence, agility, dexterity, leadership. Now that's initiative. Intelligence is over here. Cool, willpower, fellowship. So you've got all the stats there from Dungeons & Dragons, but really just in a really odd format. So you can be dexterous, but not very good with a weapon. You're massively strong, but again, not great. Whereas in Dungeons & Dragons, a high dexterity would naturally lead to you being good with a bow and possibly good with a sword. Massive strength would lead to you being good with a sword because you can hit things real hard. But Warhammer doesn't work that way. So you can have a very dexterous thief who is terrible at attacking anything. What else is in here? Let's skip through. So we've got lots of careers here. Actual thief, tollkeeper, tomb robber, troll slayer, a dwarf only one. Career exits, giant slayer. The troll slayers are dishonored dwarves who are out to kill themselves by throwing themselves against the toughest enemy they can find and die a glorious death in combat. If they survive that, they move on to Giant Slayer, where they seek out something even tougher. Got loads of skills. 140, I think it said. I only see 133 there. Basically covering just about everything you can think of. Meditation, marksmanship, jest. They're all detailed quickly here. Lots of lovely art throughout. It's very well presented. Character sheets, so the starter profile, the advanced scheme, so basically the character career you have at the moment, that's the bonuses you can buy, and your current profile. So you can see you've been through careers, you can get lots of bonuses. Careers don't stack, so you can't keep going through different careers and adding weapon skill and weapon skill and weapon skill. You will still end up with fairly low skills. It's only if you find one with a plus 30, that will add to your event scheme. Games Master, we go through details. Map of the old world. Units of time, doors. Again, lovely, lovely art. The enemy within. Beautiful picture there. Games Workshop never had any problem doing absolutely gorgeous art. Even their in-house magazine, White Dwarf, at that time was just overthrowing with lovely artwork. Advanced careers, so you can move on to more advanced things later on. You can become an assassin. You could not be an assassin from start of play. Charlatan, cleric, duelist. There's the giant slayer. Highwayman. Judicial champion. Just lots and lots. Slaver. A sea captain. Trappings. A ship. Witch hunter. Which was, when I was running it, was incredibly popular because we also had somebody who'd become mutated through chaos and was a wizard. So basically they were a witch. And we had a witch hunter in the party. Fun times. The combat section. Which has a critical hit chart. Now, these get very, very repetitive because basically there is only 16 options for each place. So if you're hit by a +5 critical, then you roll a D100 to see what level you get. So, rolled a 21 to a 40 on a +5 critical. So, 16. Your blow smashes through the arm and into the chest, caving in one side of the ribcage. The arm is completely destroyed, and blood showers yourself and your opponent. Your opponent collapses, dying almost instantly from shock and blood loss. So you can see how that would make combat a little more interesting. The standard one, though, is to try and do maximum damage to the head, so your opponent's head flies off in a random direction, landing 2d6 feet away. The amount of heads which come off in combat is vast. So we've got descriptions of what other parts, if it's non-humanoid. Combat procedure, flying monsters. We've got magic. Magic is done through magic points. Oh, yet more classes here. Wizard. A nice full colour print again. Demonologist. Elementalist, illusionist. We've got the spells here. Fairly similar to Dungeons and Dragons. They're a little less flashy, a little more grungy, so more summon, swarm than fireball. But the standard fantasy spells are in there. Got some necromantic magic. We've got some magical items in there, plus random. So you can create something randomly. It has a poison attack or a warp attack. We go through the different religions. So there's various gods. God of death, goddess of war, god of thieves and tricksters. Continuing into the monster section. Again, very similar to other fantasy games. So we've got the beastmen, which stand out here as being very Warhammer. Dwarves, elves, the Fimir, which are weird. Giants, gnomes, goblins, halflings, hobgoblins, humans, lizardmen, ogres, orcs, minotaurs, black orcs, Skaven, which are the Ratmen, which are very, very cool. And isn't that artwork lovely? Snotlings, which are tiny little goblinoid creatures. Treemen, troglodytes, trolls. Chaos warriors. More traditional creatures. We've got dragons here. Hippogriff. The evil races. So what have we got here? C is a Zote. Anything else we've got there? Skaven is the J. So there's a nice cool Skaven there. Orc, Chaos Warrior, Skeleton, Mummy, Fimir. Again, traditional, so were creatures, wyverns. Nice big fantasy here. Blythes or liches, however you want to pronounce them. Lots of undead, vampires, wraiths, spectres, demons. And then we're on to the World Guide, which details about the old world. You've got the New World, which is the Americas. You've got Norsca, which is the barbarian sort of north, which borders on the Chaos Lands. You've got the Southlands, so you've got the Black Continent, which is basically Africa. You've got far eastern countries, which are obviously the Orient. Development of the dwarfs, beginnings of humanity, the rise of humanity. Timeline for the known world. I believe there is 1979. Basically, there's an in-joke that I was trying to find there, that the Empire has a Queen Margaret, which is based on Margaret Thatcher, and the year matches up. Maybe that's a bit later, because that seems to be ancient history. So you see, we've got the world map here. Northern Chaos Wastes, the Darklands, Far Cathay, the Southlands, Araby, the Old World, which is basically Europe. Lustria, South America, and the New World, which is North America, and the Southern Chaos Wastes, which is Antarctica. We go through the different countries here. The Empire, Midland, Reichland. The Empire is very Germanic in its design, obviously with words like Reich used. What else have we got? It's a very big book and I'm taking far too long to get through this. Subsistence, armour, winter equipment. A nice little adventure, which, if it's a standard Warhammer one, I don't really remember, probably leads to a fight in the sewers. Is that a map of the sewers? That's got to be sewers. Because Warhammer adventures are nothing if not usually in the sewers chasing cultists. I've got some example characters there for the adventure. Typical buildings, which I very much like. Blueprints of coaching inns, lockkeeper's house, toll houses, toll gates, farm, a temple, a small village. Very useful things for games masters. And then, because this is an early RPG, we have tables and charts. Lots and lots of them. Your random basic careers, mounted combat, sudden death, vision distances, career summaries, because you obviously can't be bothered to look them up in the front of the book, so you've got to look them up in the back. And that's pretty much through it. Anything else left at the back? Nope. I have a piece of paper in here with unrelated things and a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay survey. I think I might be too late to send it in. It's got an American address. Oh, it's got the British address down the bottom. And that is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It's an absolute classic. The campaign for it, the Enemy Within campaign, is, in my not so humble opinion, the very best campaign ever written. It's just so dark and interesting and twisty-turny and funny. It's everything a fantasy campaign should be. Absolutely epic. And a massive letdown at the end. After Games Workshop stopped publishing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, it was picked up around the turn of the millennium by a company called Hog's Head, who were going to publish a different end for the Enemy Within campaign, but then shut down before they ever did it. Boo. Anyway, as always, thank you very, very much for watching me ramble on about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Please like and subscribe if you like my rambling at all. And you look after yourself, and I'll catch you later. Bye.